Welcome to another edition of Immigration Nation. I'm immigration lawyer Nicole Whitaker. I'm here with attorney Adriana Jimenez. Hi, Adriana.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. So, we're attorneys from Whitaker Legal. Our firm is based in Towson, Maryland, which is about 20 minutes north of Baltimore, but we represent clients all over the country. It doesn't matter where you live, um, because immigration is a federal practice area, we can help. If you're interested in getting questions, your immigration questions answered, you're interested in seeing whether you're eligible for a work permit, green card, US citizenship, or to help get your family members a green card, you can give us a call at 410 207 9272. We're here today to answer your immigration questions. So whatever questions you have, you can put them in the comment box below, and we'll see if we can help. Um, One of the questions, um, I was live on our Spanish pages, Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok earlier today. And we got so many T visa questions. We got three different T visa questions from three different people. And that's really unusual because I think the T visa is a program that not a lot of people know about. But it seems like maybe lawyers like us are out here talking about it more. There's more awareness
Yeah.
about that program and that it exists. Can you tell us, Adriana, a little bit about what the T visa is and who it's for?
Yeah. So T visa is stands for trafficking. The T visa stands for trafficking, and so those are for people who have been a victim of a severe form of trafficking, either labor trafficking or sex trafficking, human trafficking, and that they've cooperated with law enforcement, reasonably cooperated with law enforcement, and are here in the U.S. So people who, if you've ever suffered from any kind of issues at work, severe issues at work with a boss or a supervisor, you may be eligible for a T visa, depending on the situation, obviously.
Yeah. I think that when a lot of people hear um, trafficking, they think of like the stereotypical sex trafficking, someone being forced into prostitution. But really, trafficking encompasses so many different scenarios. And I kind of boil it down to or generalize it as if an employer is taking advantage of you, making you feel like you have to work using physical intimidation, using threats, anything like that. That could potentially be a T visa situation. And through T visa, we help our clients get work permits, social
Mm-hmm.
security numbers, and green cards for themselves, their spouses, their children, potentially even other family members, both inside the US and outside the US. So it's a really powerful option if someone is eligible. It's important to know that it doesn't matter when the trafficking incidents occurred. Sometimes people um, are forced to work for the coyotes that smuggle them into the US. We've won cases where that incident happened 20 years ago. Other times, it's one of the first employers that someone works for here in the US that um, mistreats them, tricks them, lies to them, um, punishes them for making mistakes at work, things like that. And because they don't know what rights they have in the US, because they don't know if they're going to get a job anywhere else, they stay in that employment. So it doesn't matter how long ago the incidents occurred, you can still apply. It's also not a requirement that you have already reported the trafficking. It's a requirement in many cases, but not all cases, for the T visa to have reported the trafficking. But if you haven't already done that, our team can help you do that as well.
Yeah. And I
Um,
just really quick, I like how you mentioned about that we can bring in family members. So, your spouse, your children, and potentially like siblings, even people that are still in your home country. Depending on the circumstances, they could be included in your petition. So that's a really great benefit that the T visa has specifically that other petitions do not. So something to take advantage of if that's available to you.
One question that we had about a T visa was about how long the process takes. I talked about how you can go to the USCIS website, uscis.gov, and look up the case processing times. There, you'll be able to select the T visa form, the I-914. You'll be able to select the category. There's only one category. And then the field office, which is the Vermont Service Center. So the person who asked the question had been waiting 4 years for their T visa case. And that seemed like a long time to me. Right now, the Immigration Service is estimating that 80% of cases are completed within 17 months. That number fluctuates. It kind of goes up and down. I've seen it as low as 12 months. I've seen it as high as 24 months over the past couple years. It always goes up and down. But right now, it says 17 months. Getting the T visa status is not the last step in the process. Once you have T visa status, you'll get a work permit, you'll get a social security number if you don't already have one, and you'll be eligible for a green card after that. So the next step is getting the green card. So not sure if he already has T visa status. Hopefully he does. If not, you can make an inquiry with USCIS. If you don't already have a lawyer, we'd be happy to help. You can call us at 410-207-9272. In addition to doing a case inquiry through USCIS, which is often not very effective, there are ways that you, as a citizen, or not a citizen, but a person living in the United States, can file a mandamus, which is a lawsuit to force USCIS to make a decision on a case that you've been waiting on a decision on for too long, a case that's outside of normal processing times. So that was the first question about the T visa. How long does it take? Right now, 17 months. The other question we got about the T visa is, can my husband be included in my T visa application? And it wasn't clear whether the person with the question had already filed their T visa or not. But regardless, including your spouse is one of the benefits of the T visa. So you can include your spouse, your children, and potentially even other family members, depending on the situation. Ideally, we would include your spouse with the initial petition. And that way, as soon as the case is approved, as soon as you get your work permit, he would get his work permit, and everything is done all together. But if you did not include your husband in the initial application, there's still time. You can still do that. And even if, let's say, you weren't married to your husband at the time you filed the T visa, there is a new policy guideline with USCIS where an after acquired spouse can also be included in a T visa case. So if you're getting legal status through the T visa, before you get your green card, you can include a spouse that you marry during that process. So you didn't have a spouse when you initially filed, but you get your spouse. You can get married after you file, but before you get a green card, there's a way you can potentially include that family member in the case and get them legal status through your T visa application.
And in fact, that's what we did with a recent client. When he came to us, he wasn't married. Now he married somebody, and we added her and actually his stepchildren, her biological children from a previous relationship, into that petition as well. So that family has a few different family members in that petition, which is great because they're all going to qualify.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So we've gotten a couple questions, a lot of questions on TikTok actually. Let's go through that. So Angela asks, my boyfriend came to the US when he was little and graduated. Can he fix his status on his own?
Her boyfriend, well, we would screen him for all different kinds of things. So that's a kind of a general one, but we could screen him for potentially T visa if he ever had it. I'd be interested to know if he ever got DACA. If he came when he was little and he potentially has DACA, that's definitely something for him. They're not married. It doesn't appear that they're married, but if they ever were married and she's a U.S. citizen or a lawful permanent resident, she could also petition for him. Just there's some, just off the top of my head, some things that we could ask him and determine if he would qualify for any kind of benefit.
Yeah, I agree. A lot of people come to us because they know that they're eligible for a certain immigration program, or they're a U.S. citizen or green card holder and they want to get status for a family member.
Mhm.
But other times we have people that consult with us and they just want to know what might I be eligible for. We call that a general screening. And in those cases, we go through someone's immigration history, their family history, experiences they've had in the US to see what programs they could be eligible for. Maybe DACA, Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, like you mentioned. We'd also screen people for U visa, VAWA, E visa, and other family based options potentially.
Yeah.
Liz Hernandez has a similar question. I was brought in the US at 7. I'm now 28. And my US citizen husband legalized me together. Looks like they might have been together for 9 years. Another person, similar situation. I'm engaged and I would like to know if I could help him in his situation. I'm an American citizen.
Yeah, for both
So
of those. I think that if they're in a lawful marriage, then the first question posed, they're already married. So yeah, file that petition on behalf of the foreign national, the citizen on behalf of the foreign national, and let's get it started.
yeah. One thing that a lot of people don't realize is um, I think a lot of Americans have this idea that if I marry someone who's not a US citizen, some people think it's just automatic. You get married and
Mhm.
that person gets legal status. Or they
Yeah.
think that no matter what their immigration history, you get married and there's some application you file and you're going to get your green card. But the truth is, the immigration laws are super complex, and the immigration laws are actually very unfair towards people that entered the US illegally without inspection. So, in a case where someone had entered the US with status, with a visa, um, tourist visa, or a student visa, or they entered through a port of entry, either at an airport or in a car or across a
Mhm.
bridge, and they were inspected, they maybe got a stamp in their passport. Even if that person overstays their visa, if they marry a US citizen, they're eligible for an immediate relative petition. And it is a process, just like you said, Adriana, that is super straightforward. It's not always super short. Sometimes it takes a while. Right now in Baltimore, we're seeing cases take about a year. Sometimes they take longer. But it's a pretty straightforward case if you entered with inspection. A lot of our clients, though, did not enter with inspection. They entered illegally, crossing the border between US and Mexico. And those cases are a little bit more complicated. Um, no matter what, my advice would be to schedule a consultation with a lawyer to really analyze your immigration history, criminal history, if there is any, and your situation, any of your experiences here in the U.S. Because the straightforward marriage-based adjustment of status is not an option for someone who entered the US illegally. They would have to be eligible for either a waiver, if they have DACA, depending on when they got DACA,
Mhm.
it's possible they could consular process without a waiver, but it's a complicated scenario we have to go through to make sure that they'd be eligible for that. We'd also screen someone like that, just like a general screening, which you described, um, where we see what immigration programs somebody might be eligible for. The main ones that we find eligibility for are VAWA, U visa, and T visa, although there are a couple other ones. So good questions. Um, One question that I got earlier was about processing times um, for a marriage based adjustment of status case. Um, the immigration website has a very useful tool. It's called Check Case Processing Times, is the name of the page. And they have updated this page over the years. It didn't used to be as sophisticated as it is now. Um, Although it's more sophisticated, it's a little bit harder to use sometimes if you don't know what you're looking for. So this website, Case Processing Times for USCIS, it has three drop-down menus. A drop-down menu with the form that you filed, the form category, and the field office or service center that's handling that petition. So for our T visa question, how long does a T visa take? I pulled up the case processing time for the form I-914. That's the application for T non-immigrant status, and went through the options to see that the processing time for the T visa is 17 months. For a marriage-based case, it might be harder to figure out how to find out how long the case is going to take because there are multiple forms that you file. You would file the form I-130, the petition for alien relative, in addition to the form I-485, the petition for the green card, along with other forms. And so, which one do you look up to see how long your case will take? I always look up the I-485. And you look up the I-45 at whatever city or field office you would be going to for your immigration interview. So our office is based in Towson, Maryland. We represent clients all over the country, but for our clients that are local here in Towson, they're going to go to the Baltimore field office. So under the form category, we'd select family-based adjustment applications, and then under the field office or service center, we'd select Baltimore, and then check or click get processing time. So for I-45s being processed in Baltimore, they're taking 28 months, or technically the site says 80% of cases are completed within 28 months. That means most cases are hopefully processed sooner than that, and only 20% of cases are processed longer than that, or have been pending longer than that. I'm seeing in my practice, especially the cases in Baltimore, that clients are waiting about 12 months, sometimes even less, to get their green card based on a family-based petition, whether it's a spouse filing for a husband or wife. We also have cases where adult U.S. citizens are petitioning for their parents, where their parents entered with inspection with a visa, even if they have overstayed that visa. So that wait time varies by processing center, but you'd get the answer to that by going to the USCIS case processing times website and checking the times for the I-45. Another question I got regarding processing times, Adriana, was about how long it takes after you have your interview with USCIS or after USCIS asks you for your medical exam. Once you hit one of those two milestones in the processing of your case, how soon after that can you expect to receive an answer from USCIS or the actual green card?
Yeah, well, when you receive a request for evidence or an RFE, that's immigration requesting more information, more documentation from you regarding a certain aspect of your case, you submit it within the deadline, and then they take, X amount of time. Honestly, in my practice, I've seen something as quick as like a day and something as long as a couple months, depending on the complexity of the case. So, that answers varies. Now, for medical exams, if they're requesting the medical exam, typically I've seen that those approvals or decision comes back pretty quickly because the medical is typically the last piece of the application process that's needed. At our office, we don't file the medical exam right up front. I think we might be changing that a little bit, but because there is a time limit on how long the medical exam is valid. So if UCIS takes a really long time to make a decision on your case, then your medical exam could expire and it's not due to your own fault. It's just because that's how long the processing times, and then you have to get a new medical. So what I've seen when we get the requests for the medical is that they're ready to approve the case. That's the last step. And you can see an approval relatively quickly after you submit your medical exam.
Yeah. What should you do if you've waited more than 4 months and haven't received anything from immigration?
I would definitely submit a case inquiry, like you mentioned, and that's something that can be done online. And sometimes it's something that you'll get some feedback on, or if it takes a significant amount of time, then you can also file a mandamus, which you explained earlier.
Yeah. And that's definitely something that we can help with if you have been, if you filed your immigration application and you feel like you've been waiting a long time, you've checked the USCIS case processing times and you've been waiting, your case has been pending longer than the times that are posted, they're outside those normal processing times, it may be time for you to take more stronger action and file a mandamus, which is a lawsuit that you file against that federal agency where you're asking a court to force USCIS to make a decision on your case because they have a duty as a federal agency to adjudicate or make decisions on all those applications within a reasonable amount of time.
Yep.
So, thank you, Adriana, for being with us today and answering our questions about T visas, our questions about marriage based adjustment of status. Um, we're here if you guys have any other questions. You can always send us your questions via comments, or you can tune into the next live if you want to get an answer sooner. Give us a call at 410-207-9272 to talk directly with one of us in a consultation. Thanks, Adriana. We'll talk soon.
Thanks, Nicole. Bye.